Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to EFL Debates, the League One podcast. And we've got a plethora of guests this afternoon. First of all, we're joined by our regular co-host, Ed Walker, an expert on all things League One. We're also joined by Jake Tonge from That League One podcast, as you can see there, if you're watching this on YouTube or on the Twitter live. We're also joined by Matt Farley from the Stevenage Football Club Podcast, in buoyant mood as ever. And we've got a special guest, Col, from the Fanzone podcast of Bolton Wanderers. Well, good evening to you, gents. Thanks so much for your time. I think there's only one place to start, though, and that's with Lincoln City, the news that they've parted company with head coach Mark Kennedy. So we're going to come to Imps fan Jake on that. What's your reaction, mate?
Do you know what? I sat in the green room for about 10 minutes before we went live, Gab, trying to think about what I was going to say. I mean, my initial reaction is a bit of disappointment. I think Mark was on a really good journey with Lincoln. I think we made significant strides from the 21-22 season. And, last year I thought we were excellent in some games, beating the bigger teams. And we really performed. And we came 11th. And I spoke to Nappers or Cod's Vlogs before we came on, and he said, last year Lincoln probably had a top half team, and we struggled to get into top half. And this year so far started off well, but it's all sort of crumbled in the last couple of weeks. So, I'm a bit disappointed with how it's ended.
It's not a footballing decision, though. I don't think, Jake.
I would agree. Yeah, I agree. I've got a feeling. And this is based on Mark Kennedy prides himself as a manager who, is the dressing room's all united. They're all together. They're playing on the same page, etc. Said he'd never call out a player for making a mistake or if the player was the reason we lost the game, he would never confront that in the press. And then at Peterborough, we had, Sean Rowan should have scored an easy header. On Saturday, we had Danny Mandroy's an absolute prat for getting sent off. And, without Danny Mandroy getting sent off, there's a chance we might have got something out of the Burton game. So there were signs post-match, and then this week he's been linked with a job at the Republic of Ireland. So it's been a bit of a turbulent week. So from what we understand, it's not footballing. Footballing matters. But
I haven't probably read the statement. Is it a parting of company or is it a dismissal?
Well,
have they walked away or have they made them go?
They said he's left, so they didn't really specify.
I think he's taken up a job with the Irish FA. That's
surprising to me, Jake, because I was just thinking before you even said that, I wasn't aware of the fact that he had been given a permission or a role within the Irish FA, but I was thinking to myself, he would actually be quite a good coup for a club who, later on in the season, who might be struggling and obviously can solidify them and a bit of a project. So I thought he was doing a lot of good work at your place. I'm a bit surprised by that.
Yeah. I think everyone on the panel tonight, is a bit miffed. Well, I was actually just sat on my sofa and then I just got a notification. I just thought they haven't actually done it, but
they tweeted at 17:59, not even at 6. That annoys me most. If you're going to tweet like that, make it bang on the hour. Don't do it a minute before on the notification.
Don't have a go at Kieran. Don't be having a go at Kieran. He's a nice kid. Not
right. It should be on the hour. That's what you do. Tweets are on the hour.
Out there, isn't it?
But yeah, I've got no idea, Gab. I mean, you suppose the attention turns to what next? Where do we go next? I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the good thing that you've got, Jake, is I think Lincoln City is one of the most attractive jobs that will come up in the EFL this year, because on the one hand, from the outside, you're still perceived as an underdog because it's Lincoln City in League One, and the club's recent history is arguably a lot lower than that. And yet you've got a really stable defence, you've got an excellent midfield, you've got strikers to come back in and instantly make you a top 10 side, you've got one of the smartest clubs in the country, really strong infrastructure. I think there's so much in place, combined with the nature of League One generally, which is kind of geared up for an underdog to surprise a few people. I think this is an absolutely brilliant job for someone to come into.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gab. How many times have we sat on various podcasts and said that League One this season compared to last year is a hell of a lot weaker. It looks like there are less teams that you would fancy to go and get promoted. So you'd have Bolton, probably Portsmouth in there. My mind just escaping me. We've lost Ipswich, we've lost Wednesday, we've lost Plymouth. We all got 96 plus points last season. So you'd imagine that with the teams coming down and a bit of financial strife, you perhaps shouldn't have underestimated the teams that were going to come up, because I'm sure Farley would have told us how good Stevenage are going to do this year. But
nothing different, Jake. Nothing different, mate.
Yeah, the league looked weaker, and there was an opportunity, and I think Lincoln fans have noticed that. And I think you're right, Gab. It's an attractive job. There's a really good board, a really good chief exec behind. That Jez George genuinely gets his recruitment pretty spot on. There's good connections with clubs and leagues above, and a good connection with Ireland, which I think is probably where we're going to get our next manager from. But yeah, it's an attractive job, that's for sure. I mean, in the short term, they're going to have a bit of work to do, because the players didn't look like they were playing for the manager on a Saturday at all. By far the worst performance of the season, and I think Ed will probably back that up into saying he probably thought we were going to be better than what we were, and played awfully. So I agree. It's a very good job, and I think any manager would be foolish not to take it if they're out of work, or if they're in a lower league, or perhaps a league over a certain channel over the West Coast might be worth applying. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to see where we go.
Ed, what's your take on Lincoln Sea, having watched them at the weekend?
The thing that stands out with Lincoln, and it's been touched on a lot by Jake and yourselves, it's that striker problem at the minute. They had a trio Saturday, Rico Hackett, Danny Mandroyo, and Teddy Bishop, I believe the front three was. Yeah. And they were all just taking up each other's space. They all kind of want to be playing off the striker, picking the ball up slightly deeper, carrying it forwards. And there's no one to just kind of be that focal point in the line. I love Ben House when he's available, but you haven't got him at the minute. Tyler Walker's out. Jack Vale, I think, has only just got his squad number, and he's going to finally start appearing again, which would be quite handy. So yeah,
you've never watched them play, Jake.
They've got a striker.
He's just happy to see someone playing up top that's a striker. That's all it is to him. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I'm a striker, by the way, Jake.
Oh, Gab,
I thought you were a centre back, Gab. Play the back, Gab.
Gab up front, dear.
Yeah. Gab, you're built like a centre back, mate. You play that. You are built. Yeah, for me, it's kind of everything's lovely from like defence up to midfield. It's missing that firepower up top, and it's just a case of. That's why it's kind of weird to see Kennedy gone, because I don't think he's underperforming. I think he's just making use of what he has. If they had a forward by now, you'd probably see them a bit higher up the table than they are. And the way the table is at the minute, they're not exactly far off anyway. It's a really tight middle of the pack at the moment.
Am I losing track of the months here? Is it only October?
It's October, yeah.
It's October, yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, there's loads of time in football to be played, isn't there? Like, I never understand these early sackings, because there's never a true picture. I always think
Did you understand Cheltenham's, Cole?
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah, of course, yeah, that's a given. But certainly from a manager like him, who's obviously done well with Lincoln last year, I find it quite surprising that you would get rid so soon in the season.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's necessarily a footballing decision, though. I reckon it might be something that.
I think that's the thing. Like, we, as people from an outside point of view, we just don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Right, anything could have happened, and it's shocking to all of us, because as we've already said, he's done a great job at Lincoln last year. There's loads of time. We're only 12, 30 matches in, but things might have just happened behind closed doors that no one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you lose your changing room, you lose your dressing room, you're knackered, really, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, you mentioned obviously we do want to get onto other people's teams, but it feels like quite a significant thing to talk about. The next Lincoln City manager, you've sort of alluded to possibly going over across the waters. There's is it Stephen Bradley who's manager in Ireland?
Shamrock Rovers, yeah.
Shamrock Rovers, yeah, good memory, Ed. They were linked with him when Mark Kennedy was appointed. So do you reckon they're going to go down that route?
I've got a funny feeling, because from what happened, I think Stephen Bradley basically wanted the job last summer, and Shamrock said, well, just stay another year and win another league title and get one under your belt. And he went, yeah, fair enough, I'll stay and do that. And I think the main sort of mission for him this year was to try and achieve something in Europe with them. And I don't think he was able to do it too successfully, but they still have won another league title. I think the more rogue shout is Damien Duff, obviously from Shelbourne. He's worked with new signing Jack Moylan, who comes in January, really closely. I think you look at that Shelbourne team, they're probably, in terms of the League of Ireland, probably bottom 3 or 4 budget-wise, but fourth in the league this year, and they're aiming to get Europe. So, I mean, it'd be a bit bad if we took their manager and the star player in the space of 3 months, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was someone that we linked up. But then, you know what, Gab? You look at the odds. Last time we had a change in manager, there were about 8 favourites for the job, and it changed nearly every hour. So I do not feel confident in saying that Lincoln will appoint this person.
Sure.
It could be. Go on, Ed.
I'm getting kind of annoyed seeing this instant. Oh, get Cowley's back, because in my eyes, you built on a certain way under Mark Kennedy, and it feels completely different to Cowley ball. Yeah. Just this idea that Cowley's came in, especially when you need that focal point forward who's not there at the minute.
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel the right fit to me if you were to go that. It's like just going the complete opposite of what you've been building towards over these last 18 months.
Yeah, I don't think Cowley would be the right appointment. I think it's one that fans are sort of crawling for because of the sentiment behind it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Carl Robinson at MK Dons, where it's like when you've got a figure that fans just absolutely love, or you've had success with in the last.
You went a couple of days too late to get Mike Williamson, by the way, Jake. That would have been a brilliant.
Oh,
yeah. I said that to Gab on the phone, didn't I, Gab? I called Gab about. Did I call you about 6:20, Gab? And I was like, I'd have had Mike Williamson, but he's literally just gone to MK Dons. So, but I think you're right, Ed. I think the Cowley thing is purely sentiment. I don't think Cowley would be a good fit. Yeah, he's a great manager, but he's probably a manager that,
it's the classic of us football fans, isn't it? We just want what we're used to, what we're familiar with. That's why Cole wants Phil Parkinson back at Bolton to succeed.
I'd have Big Sam back. Well, I'm not sure about Phil Parkinson.
Big Sam.
I don't know. I think the unknown sort of worries football fans a little bit, especially when, and you chaps will all sort of agree with me, when your football club is nearly everything to your life, like your heart, your soul, you go every Saturday, get buzzing to go. You don't want it falling in the hands of the wrong person. So that's why people go, oh, Cowley's did a good job before under Clive Nates and Liam Scully. Let's try and get them back. But it would be disastrous. We don't have a striker at all, never mind a big man up front. So, I wouldn't be clamoring all over.
You'd have John Akindi on the phone in an instant to get him out of Colchester.
We'd get the old band back together. Elliot Whitehouse.
Where's Matt Reed the minute Alterton?
Jason
Alex Woodyard from York. It would be great. I don't think the Cowleys would be the right fit. But it's exciting to see where we go. I think it's exciting. I could be, in 8 months' time, I could be sat there going, well, I wish we'd never bloody appointed him at all. So, I wasn't expecting it when I left work.
I don't think anyone was.
524 days he was in charge, Jake.
Yeah. Pretty long in
it's quite long for management, actually.
But the thing with Clive Nates is you wouldn't. And I'm sorry to make this a Lincoln podcast, Gab, but it's not something you expect. Mark Kennedy was given a 4-year contract a year and a half ago. Lincoln don't have the sort of money. Well, at least I don't think they do, unless the American investors have put a load in over the last couple of hours or so to be, paying people out of contracts of 2.5 years. I only want to play devil's advocate. It might be the Americans buying a bigger stake and going, perhaps we want our own man to come in, so we might even look to a point from America.
Or it could be Mark Kennedy walking,
It's too late for Rooney, Jake. That's happened.
No, we're going for Landon Donovan, mate. That's where we're going.
Landon Donovan. In League One as well.
Yeah, he already works for the club now. So
how do they?
He does, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an American manager come in. So
I think Damien Duff is a better shout, Jake.
Damien Duff would be. I think he'd be he's very progressive. And then I think Chris Gab tagged us in and said maybe Pete Wild, but would Pete Wild leave Barrow to come to Lincoln?
Well, he likes, so he lives, where does he live? It's like Royton area, I think,
He
which
lives
is
in
like
Manchester
an area,
area.
which is an area of Oldham, and he's only taken jobs on the basis of the geographical convenience. So took the
He does
Halifax
it.
job because that was just a short hop over the peanuts.
Barrow managers are actually all right though. I can
That's true.
you have
Yeah.
good reference.
So well, let's go on to your side then, Cole, Bolton Wanderers.
I don't think you'd have Phil Brown though, would you, Cole, as an ex-Barrow
Not
manager?
these days, no. I think he's
No.
I think he's a bit of an acquired taste these days, isn't he?
Yeah.
We'll leave that there. If you listen to other podcasts.
Talking of current matters then, Cole, it's been a bit of an inconsistent start for Bolton because I think at your best, you're easily the best side in the league. And yet there have been lots of times where you've been well short of that, especially the 3-1 defeat to Carlisle, which was horrendous. Is it just as simple as key players coming back and, maybe Dion Charles and Carl Dempsey finding full fitness and the team finding those that ceiling and going on a run? Or do you think there's a bigger problem that Ian Everett's got to address?
No, it's as simple as that, Gab. Sorry to be boring and just reiterate and repeat what you just said.
That's probably
Yeah, it's the critical players either haven't been fit, been suspended, or playing with injuries, which of course doesn't always bode particularly well. But also got to give credit to both Port Vale and Stevenage, because obviously over the last couple of weeks we've played them two teams with a very stretched squad, and they tested us, especially Matt's team. I was very impressed with them. I think it was just a timely reminder of what we have to deal with as a club. Teams coming to our place and thinking we've nothing to lose and nice big pitch, yada 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 yada. We need to get better in them type of situations. A similar thing happened, of course, against Carlisle last week. But it is a massively contributing factor that we have had a lot of injuries, suspensions to key players, really key players.
Rico Santos especially.
Rico's massive miss. Yeah, he's arguably the best defender at centre half in the league, and he'd miss. He'd be a miss to any team in this division, and possibly even higher. So yeah, and he's your captain as well. Not forgetting not only his abilities as a footballer, but he's your leader, and he leads by example in terms of his performances as well.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's so interesting you mentioned that, because I read Mark Illis's report on the Bolton News, and one of the things he was saying, there are a few players where they actually started quite well, and then I think once Carlisle equalised, like heads dropped and everything that a lot of the players were doing just kind of faded. And it does feel like maybe there's a vocal issue there that possibly Rico comes into this, where it's like someone who just shakes people out of their slumber and can sort of single-handedly carry people forward. Do you feel like Rico?
I don't think he's a massive, a big vocal presence in fairness, Gab. I just think he's 8 and 9 out of 10 every week. And obviously, when you've got a player playing at that level week in, week out, he drives standards. And I think, we're talking about the Carlisle game. Obviously, we had the lad who used to play for Preston and Rangers centre forward. He missed a penalty. I can't remember his name now.
Maguire.
No, sorry, I'm not.
Garner.
Garner, yeah, Joe Garner. He played Owen Toll like a fiddle, unfortunately for him. And the other remaining defenders as well, and that just wouldn't happen with Rico's on the side. He isn't as dominant. He wouldn't be as dominant, etc., etc. So, you need your best players, don't you, to win football matches? And he's been a massive miss. But Paris McGorm has been injured, and we've had George Thomason suspended. Gethin Jones has been suspended.
Do you think Magoma would make a difference, Colin? Because I feel like he's just one who just gets the ball and just runs.
He's a great carrier. It's a great ball.
Yeah. And maybe you need that if you're not playing so well collectively and some of the patterns aren't quite coming off. Someone who can just do something out of nothing and just run with it. All of a sudden you can open up some space that way. Do you feel like maybe some of the other midfielders don't necessarily have that?
Ultimately, we rely a lot on Carl Dempsey for that. And Carl, again, has been playing not 100% fit. So yeah, absolutely. I think another one of that ilk. Obviously, that'll be the reason why he's kind of brought him in the first place. To carry the ball and open spaces up. And you think with us, with the way we play, we expect a lot from certain players within our team from an offensive perspective and the press. And when you're playing Carl Dempsey injured, who's so integral to that type of thing, then it's not going to help.
Matt, what did you make of Bolton when you went up there?
Yeah, look, I think at the start of the season originally, I mean, when I did kind of mine, I know, the pre-season predictions you go scoo with almost once the season starts. But, originally I had Bolton, I think, winning the league going into it. And yeah, look, it was by the way, it was a great game, that game, the 3-2. It was a cracking game. I was gutted we didn't nick a point because I felt like we deserved it. But, you can clearly see how good Bolton are. And the type of players they've got, they're going to be right up there. Yeah, look, I was very impressed with them. I think they'll be knocking on the door for promotion. There was a tweet that you put out, actually, Gab, where you said out of, I think it was Oxford, Portsmouth and Bolton. Do you agree that one of those two will be fighting for automatic?
Well, we can. Yeah, so I think it'll be two of those three that get automatics. I'd be very keen to have a vote here. We've got five people here. I wonder if do we all agree? Do we think someone else is?
Well, I said before you got the wrong yellow team mentioned, Gab. So.
Oh, come on, Ed. You know what? The start of the season, I had to strain so hard to keep Burton Albion fans grounded because you were so negative. And now all of a sudden,
2 defeats, Gab will be back down the other end again. Don't worry. It's all part of it. Streaky Brewers.
Ed, this is the happiest I've seen you since Gab's been doing these EFL debates this season. You're glowing, mate.
It's because they beat Lincoln, Farley.
I know.
The fourth time in a row.
I said to Ed, I went, don't worry, Ed, the next time I'll see you on this, your team will be winning.
You're absolutely right, Matt. I need to listen to you more. You just know what's coming.
That's three wins on the bounce, Ed, is it?
It's 3 in the league, yeah.
God.
So we'll certainly get on to Burton
Trying to hide my smugness. That's all.
But then, so go on then, Jake. What do you reckon? Top 2? Do you think it'll be 2 from Portsmouth, Bolton, and Oxford, or do you think it'll be someone else like Peterborough or Barnsley or someone else coming up?
Do you know? I can make a case for Posh. I think it'll be 2 as before. I was really impressed with Peterborough. In recent weeks, they perhaps didn't have the best performance against us, but they still got the result. And good teams don't play well and get results. I think they'll have to be in contention. Especially. I think I said this last week, Gav. They've still got Clark Harris in the building. Yeah, he doesn't look like the same player, but still, you give Clark Harris half a sniff, he'll probably score.
He's looked a bit languid though this season for Posh.
And I think that's probably because he didn't get his move, and he might have thrown his toy. But they're still consistently starting him after that's happened, so they must believe in him. They must know that. Or see something in training with it,
or not have any other options.
It must be nice to have a striker, never mind more. But yeah, I think they'd be. My top 2 at the start of the season was Bolton and Derby. Do I regret that now? A little bit, maybe. Of all the teams that I've seen so far this year, I'm not seeing Oxford yet. Bolton and Pompey were the 2 that blew me away. In terms of the first 2, the only, but we've only played 11 games, 12 games, but those have been the 2 I've been impressed with. Pompey more so than Bolton. I think Pompey were sustaining attacks consistently against us, whereas Bolton, I thought like we maybe had 25, 30 minutes of that game. I think at Pompey we had 5 minutes. So for me, I would go Pompey league winners and Bolton second, but I think Cole would still take that.
Which was my prediction before the start of the season.
I think Cole will still take going up as second.
But I mean, if you're gonna play a league out, and you should always want to do the best you possibly can, and by doing that, we'll be winning the league. Let's be honest, you want to win everything you're in, don't you? But
you don't see the win titles though.
But generally, yeah.
It's like you get promoted out of leagues and kind of.
Yeah, we depends how far you go back. I think in the 90s we won a couple of championships and stuff. Okay. So, but yeah. Sorry, yeah, I'd take it, yeah, because people don't remember who won League One, do they? Really, if we're being perfectly transparent, and getting out of the league is the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. So then, Ed, would you say it's going to be two of those three, or do you think it's going to be someone else?
There's an argument for the ones around. I kind of like we're looking at that top 7 and not including Stevenage, even though they are actually in that top 7 at the moment.
I thought you were going to say us.
Well, they are 5th at the minute, but we have to be realistic about it, Matt, and just say that we have to be realistic about how good this is. Is there an argument for Blackpool? Is there an argument for it? Because Jordan Rhodes is turning that team around. And Matt will have something to say about them, I'm sure.
Do you know what? I'm going to agree with Ed. So I was going to throw Blackpool in there because we just played them on Saturday, and Oxford, Portsmouth, and Blackpool probably been the 3 best I've seen.
Well, hold that thought, folks, because we have actually got a Blackpool fan coming on in a couple of minutes.
Nice.
So that's perfect segue. So yeah, look at that, Jake.
Rubbing the hands. Most exciting. It's been a week.
What about you, then, Cole? Who do you think's the strongest threat?
Sorry, Gab, but if I can on Blackpool, if Jordan Rhodes gets recalled in January, are they not then up a creek without a paddle in terms of goal scoring?
Interesting, yeah, because the other striker they've got is Kylian Kouassi, who I think's had a great start.
He has had a very good impact. I've been impressed with him.
Yeah, but he was brought in. He was brought in. I think.
Did you say second or third?
No, I think he's
first. No, it's the first, mate.
He is the best Kylian.
Best
There's no one else.
I
could not name any other footballer called Kylian in world football. Generally.
I mean, he was brought in.
No, just agree. I'm in agreement. Yeah.
Best Kylian in world football. Anyway, sorry, Gab. Carry on.
Feels very futile now. So Cole, who do you think's the biggest threat to Bolton's automatic promotion chances?
Wigan.
Yeah, I can't look past, like, not at this stage, because obviously they've been even more inconsistent than we have. But I can't look away from Derby going on a run at some point this season and pushing themselves into contention. Because I just think they've got too much of a good squad, and I know they've got quite a few injuries at present, and obviously, teams get stronger as the season goes on, and we're certainly one of them teams as well. May I add, Ian Everett's teams do generally get stronger as the season goes on, the second half of the season especially. But yeah, Derby do concern me a little bit. I think obviously a lot of teams are going to struggle to get points at Priory Park, I think, as the season progresses. Pompey and Oxford, have they peaked too soon? Possibly. I'm yet to see either of them two live this season, so obviously can't really form much an opinion on them two. But you can't help but be impressed with the start. I think the fact that they've only conceded 8 and 9 goals respectively is pretty impressive stuff. When you consider the amount of goals that a lot of teams are in the division are shipping, it's quite alarming, really. I think we've conceded 15 goals this season in not even 15 games, which is not ideal, to be honest. But I do think, like I said, as the season goes on, I do fancy us to get stronger and stronger. I think in January, if we're within that kind of top 2 conversation, which I think we will be, we'll go out and invest and bring in some players that are going to strengthen us even further. So, I'm pretty confident. So I think ourselves and probably Portsmouth, because I think they've got a really good squad as well, and I think Derby will be in and amongst the playoffs, and they'll go up in the playoffs. Will be my show.
Yeah, possibly. I think, to be honest, I've not actually been blown away by Portsmouth. I don't know what any of you guys think from having played them yet. But I
not lost the game yet, Cab.
You what?
They've not lost the game
But it's
yet.
no secret, Cole, that there is some fortune in there with some very late goals, just capitalising on individual moments that have come their way.
Good teams score late. Look at United in the 90s.
But Cole, I've seen Bolton just dominate a game from start to finish, like against Lincoln on the opening day and probably against Cheltenham the week after. And I think at your best, you've been capable of doing that, whereas I don't feel like I've seen that same dominance, if you like, from Portsmouth yet. But I think they've also shown a higher floor than Bolton, if you like, just maybe a lower ceiling. But I think Bolton, once you get those key players back, I think the floor raises, the ceiling probably reach your ceiling and you can win 8-10 games in a row.
The problem we've got though is the expectation rate rises as well at the same time, and I often question whether or not the players that we've got are able to deal with that pressure. That's a concern of mine. If you're asking me that, if I've got any concerns for the season, they tend to buckle under a bit of pressure from time to time, and I do think that they struggle a little bit with, the constant, posting of messages and social media and the crowds and all the rest of the expectation. And I don't think the club's helped the players either this season, because they've come out and said that we're aiming for promotion, we're going to invest, yada, 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 yada. I think it puts pressure on the players. And I do question a couple of them whether they're up for it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I mean, Matt, in terms of what you've seen from some of the promotion candidates, who do you think is going to be dangerous?
I mean, at the minute, we've only played a few because our fixtures, we knew that we were going to have some of the teams down the bottom early on, but we've played a few. We've played Oxford, we've played Portsmouth, we've played Bolton and Blackpool. I think from looking at it, the two teams that we played against where I kind of went, wow, was Portsmouth and Oxford. So we played Portsmouth at home. We got really good point actually. We nearly won the game that day in August, but it was the first real time this season where we really saw the level at the top of League One and the football they were playing. It was a bit like a wow type of experience. Exactly the same thing with Oxford. So, in my honest opinion, I actually think those two will get automatically promoted. If I'm completely honest, I think you've got an argument possibly for maybe Oxford to slip out, one of the Boltons or the big boys to slip in. I think keeping players for them too is key. If they keep their important players fit, is it Brannigan for Oxford? Quality.
Yeah.
Top
Brannigan and McGuane are really strong, aren't they?
Yeah, just top class. Greg Lee, another player for Oxford who was brilliant against us. I know that he's had a great season so far. They're key players. If they keep those players fit, I actually think those two could go up. I think knocking on the door will be your Boltons. I agree with Ed. I think Blackpool will end up there. We probably played the wrong day on Saturday or the wrong style against Blackpool on Saturday. But they played very good football and they've got Jordan Rhodes up top and they've got some other good players. So, in my opinion, from what I've seen, I think it'll be Portsmouth and Oxford, but I think your Boltons, your Blackpools. I agree with Cole. I think Derby, don't rule them out. I know that they're not having the greatest of seasons in their own admission, but I think, getting to the winter months, we could see a run there with Derby. So don't rule them out. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, from what I've seen, Portsmouth and Oxford have been the two teams where we've gone, oh, wow, this is the top end of League One, and they've really impressed me, yeah.
At what point, Gab, in your opinion, does Paul Warne become under pressure?
Yeah, I have question marks over the fit as well with Paul Warne at Derby, because I think at Rotherham he didn't have to manage expectations so much, and I think the size of club probably suits him more, because I think that the way he manages is centered itself around vulnerability, and I think you can gain real connections with people through that. But I think on the other side of that coin, I think is the tendency to sort of catastrophize a little bit, or sometimes even put a negative spin on things where it almost feels a bit unnecessary. And just that sometimes I look at Paul Warne in the media and I'm just not sure that he communicates the right messages to Derby County when they're a club that sort of expecting to be challenging for promotion this season. So I've got some reservations about the fit there.
I'll take him.
Well, I'm glad Matt mentioned Blackpool, because we're joined now by Rob Walker, who's a Blackpool fan. Rob, you weren't in at the time, so just to sort of recap, we've been talking about Blackpool as a potential automatic promotion candidate, considering how open the race is at the moment. I know Matt was very impressed with Blackpool when Stevenage went up to Bloomfield Road. Is that sort of optimism shared within the fan base?
I still think there's issues with away form. I think we've got a massive match on Saturday. Oxford away is probably going to be our hardest game of the season. So I think that's going to sort of test where Blackpool are at. But there has been promising signs. The display against Stevenage, the game against Barnsley and Reading It was over the Derby game where we lost. And even that game, it could have gone either way. Derby were just very clinical on the break and played the perfect away performance. But over the last sort of 6-7 games, it has been promising. Jordan Rhodes and Kouassi formed a good partnership. Owen Dale and CJ Hamilton have really come on leaps and bounds as the season's gone on.
Hamilton's in his right position now, then.
Well, no, not really. I think
he's still playing right wing back, isn't he?
Yeah, he went back to right wing back on Saturday. He played on the left in one game. I can't remember if it was the Reading game or if it was the Barnsley game, but he's been switched back to the right hand side. He's maybe been given a bit more freedom, pushing further forward. So yeah, they've been key players for us, and also Kenny Dougal and Owen and Ollie Norburn are forming a really good partnership in the middle now. So a lot of promising signs, but yeah, there's still that away form which is a little bit inconsistent. So I think the Oxford game is a massive test for us.
Yeah, certainly. I think if you win that, though, that really does open things up for you and kind of opens up the possibilities. But you mentioned Jordan Rhodes there, Rob, and we've just been discussing on the pod the possibility that Rhodes gets recalled by Huddersfield in January, seeing as they've now got a different manager to the one that actually loaned Rhodes out. They feel like they might feel like they need a goal scorer. Is that a possible challenge for Blackpool to overcome if he does get recalled?
Yeah, I mean, if any player's performing well on loan, then obviously the parent club's going to take note of that. And that's always the danger with loan players. Ultimately, they're not your players, are they? So, but I'd like to think with Rhodes that if the phone call was made by Huddersfield and if he wasn't guaranteed a start, which I don't think any player can be, I think it's down to Jordan Rhodes. Does he want to play week in, week out, or is he happy playing off the bench for Huddersfield? And to me, if I was Jordan Rhodes, you want to play. You're 33. You're playing every week. You're scoring goals. Unless he can be guaranteed a start at Huddersfield, I think he'd rather stay at Blackpool. That's just my opinion. Maybe I've got my Blackpool tinted specs on, but no, I think Huddersfield, they've got a new manager. I'm sure Darren Moore will want to bring his own players in January. So I still think Rhodes could be here past January. But obviously, if he carries on scoring the goals that he is doing, then yeah, it is a possibility that Huddersfield will want him back, and it might be down to Rhodes to decide what he wants to do.
It'll probably depend on the challenge, Rob, won't it, as well? If you're mixing it in the playoffs or pushing for top 2 in League One, then he's probably likely wanting to stay for the challenge. But if he's at Huddersfield, maybe mid-table or whatever, it's not so much appealing, is it? I wouldn't have thought.
Is it down to the player though? Sorry but is it? I don't know if it's down to, but I think it's not genuinely as a club decision. I don't think the player tends to get much of a.
There are occasions. I remember one with Danny Johnson down in League 2 last year, for instance, where Mansfield just took him out of Walsall. Purely even though knowing he was going to be massively upset about it, they just took him out of it completely. Yeah, and Doyle's another one. Yeah, he'd have been the same.
I just think with the Rhodes age, he's 33. He's been there, done it, and a player's happiness is very important. I think a young lad, then obviously it's a club decision, but I think Rhodes will get a say in the matter personally.
Senior, isn't it?
And he looks like he enjoys his football as well. He just looks so happy playing. He's, when the goals are going in for his teammates, and he set up CJ Hamilton against Stevenage, and it's a great move, and he's running straight over. He just looks a happy football at the moment, which, at his age, I think it's a big thing.
I think with his injury record, if you're keeping him fit as well, that'd be a sway in the matter, wouldn't it? Because if he's in an environment where he's being kept fit, then that's what he's going to want that in here. Let's be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's competition there now. I mean, obviously, Shane Lavery's back from injury. Kyle Joseph's back in training. We've got Jake Beasley still. Kouassi's made a big impact. So there is a lot of strikers there, but obviously Rhodes at the moment is number one choice.
Rob, Lavery in League One, I'm really excited about because he scored a brace against Burton on the opening day, didn't he?
And I thought he was just going to kick on from there and be top scorer right now, to be honest with you.
I thought he could be one of the top goal scorers in League
Rob,
One.
Rob, can I ask you about Colin Kouassi? Because you got him from Sutton United. He just started to break through there. I remember when he kind of was at Sutton, he was kind of on the periphery. There was an immense talent in there, but it kind of felt like it was a while till he was going to break through in League 2 with Sutton. Instead, he seems to have just emerged in League 1 and looked even more above the level. Is it a surprise, really, that he's hit the ground running so quickly there?
Absolutely, yeah. But I think he was given opportunity and he's just grasped it with both hands. I mean, Lavery was injured at the time. Joseph was injured. Jake Beasley was out of form. So we really, before Jordan Rhodes came, we only really had Kouassi there. So he played in the Pizza Cup against Barrow in the second half, took his goal really well. And then we had a poor performance. I think it was at Wickham where we lost 3-0. And then they made the changes for the Reading game. And, yeah, he just looks quite raw, but there's definitely a player there. And I think we're working up front with Jordan Rhodes. What better player to learn from in League One than Jordan Rhodes? So yeah, I mean, I think he'll have games where he's in and out, but there's definitely something there. I mean, he played in the Pizza Cup against Liverpool, came on at half time and scored 3 goals. Now, if you see those 3 goals, he just bullied the defenders. Now, I know that's against Liverpool under 21s, but he came on and scored 3 goals. That's all you can ask him to do. So it's very exciting. And I think there's a lot of Blackpool fans are getting very excited about Kouassi.
Cole knows all about battering North or West under 21 sides in the EFL Trophy, doesn't he?
Oh, God. Competition. Oh, don't get me going on that edge. Good day at Wembley, though, to be fair, when you take 35,000 fans out and beat Plymouth 4-0.
Enjoy it again.
Great, yeah.
So, Rob, what have Blackpool got to do to correct that away form and thus become a more permanent fixture in the top 6?
Well, I think it's starting well, and I think against Charlton, we saw glimpses of that. We went 2-0 up, and then bizarrely drew the game, and Charlton could have easily won that game as well. So I mean, it was a really strange game because Blackpool were in control. They were, in a low block. Out possession, Blackpool are normally very good, but we pressed forward for the 3rd goal, got caught out, and got caught on the break, and then fair play to Taylor Blackett, was it? Scored an absolute wonder goal to make it 2-2, which you can't do anything about. But there was definitely promising signs there at Charlton, and obviously backing up against Stevenage. So yeah, I'm a bit more positive now. But I think Oxford, like I say, if we go there and lose, then it's back to the drawing board a little bit. But I think automatics is a bit ambitious at the moment. I think top 6. I think if you offered it as now, I think Blackpool fans would bite your hand off.
Well, let's hope you do get into that top 6, and certainly the recent form looks pretty encouraging. So it's been great to get your thoughts, Rob, and thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers. So let's turn our attentions to the relegation dogfight, which Burton Albion are no longer part of. I'm just wondering... I
don't have to scroll anymore to see him in the table, Gab. It's lovely. It's so nice. Oh, I'm really enjoying it.
Brilliant. But I think we can probably all agree that Cheltenham Town are in big trouble, and it's looking unlikely that they're going to get themselves out of this situation. I suppose the question would be, Ed, whether Reading and Wigan get themselves out, because although they're clubs that have just come down from the Championship and you'd sort of expect them to get it right, they're both clubs that have had a lot of issues. Wigan had a big points deduction. Reading have got are in a bit of turmoil. How do you see the situation playing out for those two?
Admittedly, not great at the moment. I was feeling quite pleased with Wigan. Very quickly got rid of that points deduction, got back into positives. A question mark seems to be coming away in Maloney at the minute. They seem quite disappointed with his tactical decisions, his general tactical setup. It doesn't seem to be working to the level they want. And as a side that, with this points deduction and naturally down the bottom anyway, it's not encouraging. And the situation with Reading is really dire. There seems to be a massive unrest at the minute between fans and the squad. I think the reaction to the Blackpool game was one that particularly stood out. That 4-1 defeat, really not a good reaction there. So I was feeling quite positive that these two could ultimately get out of it by the end. And now I'm feeling quite concerned about them because it just feels like everyone else around them is in better shape squad-wise at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose from my point of view, I'd probably be more worried about Reading than Wigan.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Wigan have the funds if needed to strengthen in January, whereas Reading it's a place of anarchy right now and lots of uncertainty. So I think Reading go down with Cheltenham. I think Fleetwood probably go down.
Discipline of Wigan worries me a bit because Matt, I think at the Stevenage game, Callum Lang sent off, and I don't know if did that switch the game at all, and Stevenage just stay after the red card.
It was a bit of a weird one because we were in. I mean, I like to think we were in control of it, but it got worse. I mean, when he got sent off, although I think we said this, it might have been a little bit of a harsh sending off, to be completely honest. When we actually watched it back, it was just a bit of a coming together.
I remember this now. Yeah, it was a weird.
Yeah, with Jake Tonge. So when he got sort of, and to be fair, I think the referee that day, Steve Evans, had made such a big deal out of poor officials. I think that official just went.
If you mention those 3 letters, I'm leaving.
Sorry. I'm not.
Don't do it.
I'm not mentioning them. But I think because he went kind of almost so kind of bananas on it in the week that the officials weren't good enough for us. I think the referee who did it that day was so card happy. I think Wigan had about, I think it was like 10 bookings or something in the game. It was ridiculous. So to be fair to them, the sending off, if that would have been one of our players, I'd have been fuming because I don't really think it was a sending off. But to answer your question, after we were kind of in control. We never really felt that they were a threat to us really up top. That it didn't really seem like they had anything. Can't remember the big boy striker they had. Forgotten his name, but he was really the only player in that squad that you looked at and went, "No, he's half decent." I was a bit concerned.
I think it would have been McGuinness actually who was leading them. White was still suspended at that point, so it might have been McGuinness at the time.
Yeah, it might have been. But I've got to be honest, looking at Wigan, I think there's a lot of concern. To be honest with you, Gab, I think I said it to, might have been Charlie, who came on, the guy that does the Wigan podcast. And I think what's demoralising for Wigan and Reading is you start with that points deduction. And let's take Wigan, for example. They then do really well to get rid of the point deduction. They get into the positives, right? But then they get the points. It must be so demoralising to do all of that work, right, to get the form that they had, and they're in that position. It's same with Reading, right? Reading beat us. They were our first loss of the season, but they got deducted 2 points 2 weeks later. So that result was kind of gone. It's like you're winning games, but then you're still stuck in the mud because of the point. It must be demoralising for these sides.
It's not only demoralising for the players as well, Matt. It's demoralising for the fan base as well when you're up against it from a positive and negative points perspective.
You're a man speaking for experience there, Cole.
Not half. Yeah, I'd like to try and forget about all that shenanigans, to be honest. I have a question about Reading and Wigan on the back of Carnivals as well, to a degree. What's the situation? Gavin, Ed, and probably Jake, I'm not sure as well, probably know as well. What's the situation with them with regards to like EFL sanctions on transfers and spending money and
I'm the last person to ask about that.
I'm not much better, admittedly. So Jake's our expert on this.
Because,
no idea.
Because ultimately, when you said before, Gab, about Wigan being able to go out and strengthen, are they going to be able to? Do you get what I mean? You know,
I believe.
I don't think
I'm sure I've seen the word embargo transferred around Reading recently.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a problem for Wigan, but I think Reading particularly have a serious issue at the moment. They've really got to make use of these. They've had a lot of emergent youngsters in their squad, which they've needed to, thought they've had, and those players need to hit the levels.
Have Reading not had isn't there a big takeover going on? Like, obviously there'll be a takeover going on at Reading, but has there not been...
The name that's been circling around is someone you do not want involved with that club.
Yeah.
The guy who's Formula One fellow.
Yeah, you do not want involvement with that. No.
Yeah, it's a really worrying situation because I think Wigan have got their future a bit more secured with the Mike Danson takeover, whereas I think Reading, I think it's really, really worrying time. And I suppose that brings me on to the rest of the relegation battle because Carlisle are a bit of a funny one. I mean, Cole, that you saw them absolutely. Could have won, 4, 5, 6 if it wasn't for Nathan Baxter, and yet the following week, I think in the week, Paul Simpson made some sort of quite fiery comments against some of the reserve team players that played in the EFL Trophy in midweek, and then they're really disappointing against Leyton Orient. So I'm not sure quite what to expect from Carlisle. Them and Shrewsbury are the ones I'd probably worry about.
I think Carlisle played above themselves against us, to be honest. And I think it goes back to what I said before when we've got a few players who, when the pressure's on, they kind of struggle a little bit.
Probably also when they got 4,000 at away end, doesn't it?
Well, I think they did 23,000 on Ed, I think, that game. So, yeah, we don't struggle really in them environments, but sometimes we can do, is what I'm getting at. And especially when the away fans are obviously, it's the big day, literally treat it like they're at Wembley, like they have balloons out and all sorts of stuff. So obviously they played above themselves and got a hell of a result. So it doesn't surprise me that they've gone on the 2 games after and struggled.
It worries me that they're winless as long as they're at home. Their last home win was against Shrewsbury back on the 2nd of September. And maybe this is wrong to do it geographically, but in my eyes, we should be treating Brunton Park a bit like Home Park. Like it's such a long trek for people up there. It should be horrible to do. You just don't enjoy it, and people don't really seem to be having a hard time with it up there at the moment.
Yeah.
Nice people up in Carlisle, to be fair. That's probably the reason why they must get treated well.
I'm not sure Matt's necessarily had that same experience.
Say that again, Gav. Crikey.
So in terms of the, I think Shrewsbury, Ed, we've spoken before about worrying a little bit about Shrewsbury. They've got 4 points from their last 2 games, which is a little bit of a boost. They got a point at Cambridge last time out.
It's last-minute goals on both occasions, though, isn't it? It's kind of
and
the equaliser at Cambridge, especially. I've seen that back. I do not understand how he's managed to pull that off, Taylor Perry. It's such a mess from a Cambridge perspective. And then the goal they concede to go behind anyway to Michael Morrison, who just kind of runs forwards. I know it's kind of crazy because it's a centre-back, but also from a Shrewsbury perspective, I'd be sick in the mouth just watching the centre-back just dance through like the bell even there.
And the other thing I would say is I'm really confident, actually, the way Northampton are playing, that they're going to stay up. Jake's nodding there. Presumably you've seen them.
I went to Sixfields earlier. I think Northampton are a very underrated side. I think most people just saw them as newly promoted, but they, to go. I think you said it, Gab. I think, to go back to back the way they did, the way they missed out on the final day to Bristol Rovers, and then go and get promoted again, to be in that position again, get promoted with a manager who knows the squad inside out. They brought key players back like Bowie, who's had a good international break, I think, with Scotland under 21. Mark Leonard came back, who was a target for lots of clubs at the
He's
top
having
of
a brilliant
level.
season, Joe.
Every time you mention Mark Leonard, Gab smiles.
Such a good player. And I think Tyrese Simpson's had a hard time of it at Northampton, but I think he's going to come good because he's got all the physical attributes, and I think he's done it with Swindon before.
Tell you what, though, Jake, I've been surprised by Louis Appere, because before the season I wouldn't have said he was a League One centre forward, but actually he's been really crucial to how they've played with his running against the ball, and I think he's got himself a couple of goals. Bowie, you mentioned there, has been great in terms of creating things for other people. Hoskins carried on from where he left off. Defence is looking really solid as well. So I've been so impressed by Northampton. I could see them actually finishing higher than where they are at the moment.
And you got Ben Fox to come back in as well, who's a really good midfielder. So
great shout.
I'm intrigued to see how he gets on and slots in there next to Leonard. It'll be really interesting to see.
We've got them on Saturday.
Interesting.
Good luck.
Is Rico back for that one, Cole?
Yeah, Rico's back. Gethin Jones is back. Mendes Gomez not, but Paris Magoma is. I think obviously Dion hasn't played that much internationally, so he should be fresher. So we're looking better.
Nice. Matt, we've got to have a bit of a Stevenage chat before we wrap up. Bit of a setback there. Was that a bit of a reality check, the Blackpool defeat?
Well, I think it's been a case of, I think I said at the start of the season, I think a few of our supporters said actually at the start of the season that, we know our style. It's we're fast, we're direct, we do it really well. I think against the top sides of the division, you've probably got to have another way of playing as well. And I think what we've seen when we've played one of the top sides, I know the Bolton game was really competitive that night. But when I look at the 3-1 loss against Oxford, the 3-0 loss against Blackpool, I think we've just needed to play a bit more football and just get the ball down a bit and retain the ball. And I think that's one thing that we said coming into the division. We're going to need to do that against the bigger sides in the division because, there is a lot of good football. You've got a lot of good players and you have to, I think, play a bit when you play those big sides. So
do you think Forster is going to be key to that then, Matt?
Yeah, I do. You look, JFC's a League One player, and I think he's even played Championship actually, JFC with Bolton. But I think he is, and I think it'll be a good learning curve for Steve. Actually, I think Steve just needs to know let's get the ball down a bit more against these better sides and try and play some good football because although we've got a very direct style and we know what we are and we're effective at what we do, we have got some good footballers like your JFC. So I think that was what it was Saturday against Blackpool. We didn't play the right style of football, and therefore Blackpool moved the ball really well, and we lost the game 3-0. So I don't think it's a massive concern. I think our style is effective against the other mid-table sides, the sides down the bottom. I just think whenever we play those top sides, we just need to just play some better football, I think.
There's also a quality issue as well. Like they've got, top end players for the league, so that can make a difference as well.
Is there
like
an argument, Matt, you've taken advantage of the fixture schedule in some ways? Because it kind of feels like Stevenage just look way, way better than any kind of bottom four side. Generally, when you play that middle group, which you're probably in now, you feel quite competitive against them, and then you just finding yourself out of your depth really against top sides. I think that's perfectly fine to be as a newly promoted team. And at the minute, you're up in fifth because you've had more of those favourable fixtures at the minute than the tougher ones, to say.
Yeah, look, completely agree. I mean, that is it in a nutshell. I think whenever we've played, there's a stat that we've used in our podcast recently, and we were looking at the results when we've played the bottom sides. Now, I know Reading, we lost that day, but things happened in that game which kind of put the game in doubt for us. But other than that, when we look at the teams that we've played that are down the bottom, we've pretty much won a lot against those sides, or sides that are going to be down in probably like your Cambridge that are looking going in that direction. So it seems like we're not going to be part of that pack, which is good. And I agree with you, Ed. I think it's just been a case of when we've played the sides that are going to be right up there competing for promotion, like your Oxfords, your Blackpools, I mean, even your Boltons. We've just come a little bit at the start. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's incredible that we're in this position. To be fifth in League One and to have 21 points in the bag already. So, it's great.
That's the key, Matt, isn't it? That's the key, Matt. Getting the points on the board.
Already halfway there.
That's
a
critical thing, isn't it?
That's what we said. We said, if we can win Saturday, we've got Port Vale at home, so good. A good winnable game for us at the minute. Port Vale have lost a few of late. We'd have 24 points. It's pretty much half of what you need to stay up. So I think that's absolutely key for us. But look, it's to go along with your point, Ed. When we got the fixture list and we had a look at Northampton, Shrewsbury, Cambridge, we thought, oh wow, we're going to be playing a lot of the sides down the bottom. Cheltenham, everyone tip them to do what they're doing. So it's just a case of we've had a lot of those games against teams down the bottom. We've come into a run where we're probably playing 4 of the 7 sides that we're playing that are all going to be up there, and we're playing some really good sides with a lot of money around the clubs, and it's going to be difficult for smaller clubs like us, although we've got a very competitive squad to, get results. Steve said at the start of the season, there will be a few 3-0s this season against your top sides. It's perfectly normal. It's a cracking league, although I know some of the chaps have said it's not like previous seasons, but it's still a top division. So, look, there's nothing to be concerned about for us. Do I think we're going to be near the bottom? Touch wood. No, I don't. Look, we're over the moon to be where we are doing what we're doing. And, I think the key for us is doing well at home. Get a win Saturday. That's 3 wins, 3 draws, and just 1 defeat at home. So the home.
I am going to pick a bit of a bone with you, Matt, for tweeting out the must win. Is it a must win? It's October and you're 5th, Matt.
You're 5th in the table.
Well, no. To throw this out, it wasn't actually me who did the tweet. There you go, Dad. It wasn't. It was no. 3 of us.
That's what he'll tell us. That's what he's telling us.
It's just me.
Don't believe you.
No, you know what? Some of the boys. So when we were in Blackpool the weekend, the reason for it is one of the lads who also is on the account. He had a lot of our fans saying that they believed that it was a must win against Port Vale, and I kind of thought, must win. I was like, we're 5th. There's no, in my mind, what must win is if you don't win, the manager's gone. If you don't win, you're relegated. If you don't win, you don't make the playoffs. Like, that's a must win in my mind. Sure. So I think one of the lads tweeted out to see the reaction, and surprisingly, more people said yes than no. I was a bit like, what?
Oh my god!
It's a must win to get more points on the board, isn't it? And solidify yourself in the division.
And don't get me wrong, it's a massive game because again, the home form in League One is our bread and butter. If we've got really good home form, we've got a platform to stay up and be competitive. So don't get me wrong, it's a really important game for us, but I wouldn't say it's must win. No, must win is,
We've played both of yourselves and Port Vale recently, and I'd say that that's going to be quite a competitive game on Saturday. By two teams that'll fancy each other.
Who are you more impressed with, Carl?
Stevenage. Only because of the fact that we battered Port Vale in the first half, and more importantly, Stevenage came to our place, and we were a bit like, okay.
Yeah, I think when we came to your place, it was a little bit like, look, the manager's a winner. He wants to win every game he plays, of course. But I think it was a case of we want to come. We just got beat by Oxford 3-1, so I think it was a chance for the players to really come out and give it a really good go. Don't just park the bus, come out and actually play.
You could tell. I think they enjoyed the pitch. I think they mixed it up a bit and playing some good diagonals and utilise that width and stuff. And you could tell that they were up for it.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what, we were gutted because when we made it 2-2 with Reedy from the penalty spot, I mean, as supporters, whenever we kind of get back level in a game with 10 minutes to go, we kind of rally, and we've had this thing over the last year where we can nick a last-minute goal. So when Reedy scored, I think we all kind of felt, 10 minutes, nick a winner, and then Bolton went up the straight the other end after 5 seconds and went 3-2. We were like, let's go home, honestly.
By the way, Nat, is Reedy going to score more goals in League One than he scored in League Two?
It feels like it.
I think he is. Honestly, the guy...
He's going to do an Alfie May at this rate, isn't he?
Mate, honestly, I'll tell you what, he scored on Saturday and a shocking decision by the linesman.
I don't want to be here in a league where Jamie Reid scores 20 League One goals. No, I can't have that.
Do you know what, though? Fair play to Jamie Reid, because when Steve came in, he was in a little bit of limbo with his career. We were at the bottom of League Two, and it's a little bit like, where's Reedy going? He had some great stats for Torquay in the National League. I think he scored 40 goals in a season, or something like that.
National League South, I think.
Yeah, it was something like 40 goals. Incredible. I think he broke a record in it or something. But we know that he's got the ability to score goals. I think if you'd have said at that time he's going to do it in League One, we never would have believed you. So coming up to the division, we looked at Reedy and we thought, well, he's done it in the league below. Can he do it at League One? I mean, he's been brilliant. So yeah, I think Reedy will end up in a good double figures for the end of the season. But look, he's vital. He's won us a lot of points. So yeah, we've got to keep him fit. But yeah, he should have had another one against Blackpool. That blooming linesman, Jesus Lord, honestly. But there you go.
Jamie Reid.
We love him. BTR. He's a fan favourite, Gab. He's becoming a legend slowly. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. You're teaching me all the chants, Matt. Brilliant stuff. Well, listen, thanks so much for your time, folks. Thanks to Ed, our League One expert. Thanks to Jake from Channel 72 and that League One podcast. Check out.
He throws in solid, Jake, for the last 10 minutes. I thought he just kind of... He's just like this with the... It's just like this for ages. He's zoned out, Jake. He's talking strikers and he hasn't got a clue what we're talking about because he doesn't know what a striker is at Lincoln, so he's just completely blanked out.
I think he's still trying to let the news sink.
Striker's on loan.
The best striker is on loan. It's very funny.
I feel like Jake's got a box of tissues that we can't see now. And He's kind of dipping just to wipe the tears.
Absolutely. Go check out the Stevenage Football Club podcast and the Fanzone podcast later. Why do I have that in my head? Bolton Wanderers.
Wow.
You're converting, Cole. Moving down south, are we?
Don't know what to say about that.
Shocking that. Taxi something, I reckon. This has been the League One podcast EFL debate. Thanks to you for watching at home, and we'll see you again very soon.